Like the fire, feel the beat. Gday Gridiron can't be beat. Nick your knee and bring the heat. Brad's the MVP elite. From the outback through the field, we got tackles hard to steal. Catch the passes, make it real. Gridiron warriors never kneel. Gday Gridiron, down under and beyond. Gday Gridiron, yeah, the podcast come on strong.
G'day Aussie Gridiron fans, and welcome to the G'day Gridiron podcast, brought to you by the Aussie Gridiron Network, Australia's home of NFL and local gridiron content. It's the Week 11 slate of the NFL. We're back with Brad, Nick, and myself, Ian, to do some previews for Week 11. Some pretty big games, 4 pretty big games, as always, and some other fun little exercises and segments that we're going to bring on out. Let's kick off. G'day, Brad. Hey, Brad.
Yes.
Nick and I have got something to hit you up with first up this week. Off mic last week, you made a wild prediction that we wished we were recording on. And I really wanted to address this with Brad first up, and just let's kick the whole show off on the right foot. Brad told Nick and I that the Jets were, what was it, Nick? The Jets would only
They're going to run the table.
He said they were going to run the table, and he said that they were only going to lose a maximum of one more game for the rest of the season. So,
Well, there you go.
The Jets with the Jets winning out from here, they'll be beating the Colts, the Seahawks, at the Dolphins, at the Jags, the Rams, at the Bills, and the Dolphins again. That's
See, it's still possible. Like I said,
Brad,
we'll revisit this next week.
I really needed to get this on mic, Brad. I really did. Because, holy shit, it's probably the biggest water bet we've ever had at AGN. I would tell you that right now.
I saw the score of that game, and I just went, oh, I'm going to have egg on my face. Yep, exactly. Oh, gosh.
Yeah, that's exactly why we need to get it on mic.
What was so bad about that game in particular was not just that they lost, but how they lost. Like, they just looked awful. So yeah, I deserve every negative comment you can come up with about that, because you're right, that was bad. I'll own that. That was very bad.
I saw a bit of a post on X today that actually said that the vision or the idea of Rodgers that we should all have in our heads is the final Packers game, with Rodgers walking down the tunnel with his arm around one of his best mates on the Packers, and that was it, and going out on a high, and one of the best quarterbacks the league's seen, and one of the best passes that the league has ever seen. But instead, now we get year 2 of this absolute shit show, just this ancient skeleton standing on a field with no idea what he's seemingly doing or who he's passing to, and it's just like he's tarnished his entire image.
Well, and he said
it's Brett Favre all over again.
Yeah, he said today that he's
this bad.
You're right, but that he said that he's kind of come back again next year. So, I mean, if you're the Jets, do you let him? Do you let him come back again next year?
Him now.
Cut him now.
The
Johnson family will let him. That's the problem. Woody Johnson has a bit of a hard-on for Aaron Rodgers, and that's why he's there to start with.
But my understanding is Woody is potentially taking a role in the Trump administration, and so his brother.
There's that talk again.
Yeah, his brother's going to come back and take him over.
So if his brother's taking over, Well, it depends on what his viewpoint is.
No,
Surely they have to be cutting him.
the whole Johnson family would love him. That's why he's there. That's why they paid him so much. It's just crazy. Anyway, that should be the lasting image of Rodgers shouldn't be this. It should be that guy that came out of Green Bay. Like it's
If the Jets roll out with Aaron Rodgers at quarterback, if they roll out with relatively the same squad, I don't know who their coach is going to be, but I'll lock them in for last place in that division next year. Right now, right now, even behind the Patriots.
So what are we saying, Brad? The Jets are currently 3-7. What's that going to take them to?
They'll finish.
Is that going to take them to 10 wins? No, 9 wins.
Yeah, they'll finish. They'll finish 9-7.
From before last week, they'll split. So 4-4. I gave them 4 wins at most. So 4-3 for the rest of the season.
Firmly on the fence. That's what you were doing. So Brad's saying they're going to win 7 more games. So that would be a 10-7 record. Are you standing behind that, Brad?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I said it. I believe in it.
Are you
He's
willing?
doubling down.
Are you willing to take a water bet here?
No, I didn't say that. but I'm standing by it.
I'll water bet that they'll lose a game.
I was happy to do it. I was happy to be wrong there, Brad. But okay, all right. How are you, Nick? Nick, you've come off a pretty good game on the weekend. We won't talk about the scoreline, but pretty good first up game down in SA for the Hogs.
It was, yeah, good start to the season.
Don't talk about the scoreline though, because it's terrible, and that's not how we should think about these games.
Oh wait, no, but all round, there was a few points where were a bit rusty. I know myself. There was a few players I'd like to get back, but I'm looking forward to playing this week. Minus the weather being like in the 30s and it's going to be humid, so that's not going to be fun. But we'll find a way. Bloody SA weather.
SA weather. Don't talk about the weather. Our mate Big Kev's been up there at like 38 degrees at 3 in the morning in the Northern Territory.
Never play there.
I don't think you play any sport at this time of year up there, apart from drinking. That's drinking sports would be about it. Nick. We foreskinned it a few weeks ago, and a little birdie tells me that you might be doing a few little hits for Aussie Gridiron today for Manjot.
Not me, not yet. There's been a few, not as of yet. There's been a few guys, I think, during the week that I've seen from our team that I think are getting involved. I know at least one. So
discussions are continuing. Is this what you're telling me?
Discussions are continuing. Yeah, their people speak to my people, so we'll figure it out.
Right, they're just working out the contract.
I'm just giving you a political answer. So
it's fair enough. That is fair enough. All right, hey, we got a bit of a fun segment to start the week with, and it is something I've titled "To the Moon." Essentially, teams we would like to punt on for the rest of the regular season. Teams it's week 11. We have so little of the regular season left in reality. Which teams can we do without talking about until they're in there or we're in draft prep mode? We don't really need to be talking about some of these teams, and nobody really wants to. So, who can we punt to the moon? Boys, I feel like we should start off with the obvious. So we should start off with the super obvious ones, and I'll just throw out a few at the bottom end. The 2-8 Jags and Giants. Are we all pretty much in agreement for that?
Absolutely, they're done. Put a fork in them.
Yeah,
They're done for the year.
punt
Put
out
a
of
fork in
bounds.
them. Excellent, Brad. Thanks for a drop, because here's another one for you.
To the moon!
There you go. Raiders, Titans, Browns, all at 2-7. How do we feel about those three?
Yeah, I think so.
So
That-
Raiders, Titans, Browns, and who?
Yeah, those
That-
three: Raiders, Titans,
just
and
those
Browns,
three.
because they're all at 2-7.
I say they're
Righto.
done.
Punt on
Yeah,
them. Punt on
get rid of them.
Punt on them.
All right. Carolina Panthers, New Orleans Saints, New England Patriots, New York Jets, all at 3-7. Any of those, we feel like they might go on a bit of a run, Brad.
Yes, I'm
Yeah.
still not willing to give up on my Jets. So
Okay.
I don't want to get rid
Patriots,
of them.
Saints.
Punt.
Patriots, yeah, get rid of them. Saints,
You know
I
what?
say.
I don't know about the Saints. There's something interesting, and I probably should have prefaced it too. We do have a little bit of some water bets here. If we do stand by a team and we don't want to punt on them, we're very serious about it. Then there may be some water bets involved for this. And for anyone that doesn't know what a water bet is, if they haven't listened to the Aussie NFL Fantasy Show, which you definitely should, essentially you've got to take 2 litres of Australia's finest H2O over the head. Yeah, and drown your sorrows.
Can I ask, in this situation, what determines if you lose the bet? Is it that they don't make the playoffs?
I would say yes. So what we're
Really?
trying to get down to is teams. No, not don't make the playoffs, and we probably do have to define a level, but are still in contention for the playoffs.
Yeah,
So if they get to weeks 17 and 18, and they're still in contention for playoffs, and we
Okay.
really want to be, because obviously in week 17 and 18, we here when we do our preview shows, we're probably going to preface really go with teams that are going to be in games that are do or die to make a playoff spot, because that's going to be the interesting talking point at that point, rather than the team at the top of the league, the Lions
Yeah.
or the Chiefs, who they've already clinched the division. So
So the way to define whether you've lost it or not is if they're mathematically a chance in week 17. Is that how we're doing it?
that's up to us. But does that sound good enough,
That sounds alright with me.
yeah,
Brad?
yeah.
We set these
2
ground
weeks
rules
out.
right now. That's what the ground
2
rules
weeks
are.
out, yeah.
2 weeks out, righto. I'm still not willing on I don't want to pass up on the Saints. I feel like this the Darren Rizzi bump might be a thing. I know the interim coach bump was definitely a thing last week. It showed that it was alive and well with the 20-17 win over the Falcons. He seems to have changed. Like, there's a bit more of a positive attitude has come about. So I don't know about the Saints yet.
Have you seen their schedule?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that-
have, and I am looking at it. It's Browns, Rams, Giants, Commanders, Packers. They're tough games. Except the Giants, obviously.
That's
I know.
what concerns me is the whole schedule, and I mean even a dead cat bounces. So it's I don't think that you're gonna get
Thanks, Brad.
much. No worries. I don't think you're gonna get much from that.
Okay. All right, I'm with you. I'm happy to concede on that one. All right, so that means Panthers, Saints, Patriots, all out. Brad, are we really standing by the Jets?
They're going to be relevant. They're going to be relevant. They're going to be relevant. I'm telling you, they're going to be relevant.
Oh my God, Brad. Okay. All right, then let's get to the conferences, because it's obviously conference that we're talking about. We're up to the point. Is any of you boys want to throw out some nominated team that you don't think we should be talking about for the rest of the season? Any that you really want to stand by?
That
That you feel strong. That you feel that,
Okay.
and yeah. So anybody you feel strongly about, we definitely don't need to be, that we haven't already mentioned.
We mentioned the Patriots, didn't we?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. The Cowboys.
I was going to say, I just literally looked at their schedule and I thought, there's no way that they
No,
will
you're-
for the rest of the year.
You're absolutely right, and frankly, I just don't want the torture of having to talk about them every week. So it's right now
Love the Cowboys.
we're gunning for
Yeah,
Shedeur
okay.
Sanders, and it's going to be prime time as the coach and his son as the quarterback. Come on now.
I heard that. I absolutely heard that wild thing this week too, Brad. That was interesting. That there's a couple of teams. The other one that I heard mention of that exact scenario was actually the Giants, which I found very interesting because I don't think that they would get rid of Daboll.
No, they're
But
not.
maybe
they're-
if they had
they're
the
not.
chance.
Yeah.
What about the Jets?
It could be the Jets too. Could have the
If
Jets
they
with
move on-
Shedeur and
If they move on
Prime.
Aaron Rodgers, yeah.
Why would you get rid? Why would you move on
better.
from a playoff team though? I mean, because they're going to make the playoffs. So why would you move on? From
I
that?
would.
He
I
made
really
this guy
just-
do a water bet. I'm telling you,
I know, Brad. You are going on with this too much. I guarantee you, once Matty hears this, he is going to light up a text thread with you. It's going to be telling you must water bet this. So,
All right.
look, I'll throw out one that's a bit more controversial for you. Then, okay?
Yep.
I'll throw you down there.
Okay.
I propose the Chicago Bears should be punted. I don't think the Bears come up against the Packers this week,
Not yet.
and that will put them at 4-6. And then they've got the Vikings, then they've got the Lions, then they've got the 49ers, then they've got the Vikings and the Lions again. I don't see the Bears being relevant in this stretch with the way that they are right now, with the way they're playing, the fact that their O-line is just a bunch of high schoolers because that's all that they've got left. Yeah, I worry about the Bears in general. Eberflus just got rid of Shane Waldron this week, so they punted on the OC. So they're in for a new OC now. So the pass game coordinator, Thomas Brown, he's the new interim OC. So I just don't. Yeah, I just feel with that schedule, I don't like it for the Bears. It's not good. Even if they split in division stuff with Vikings and Lions down this stretch and the Packers, because they've got to play all of them, their entire division from this point forward.
Yeah. No,
I would wait another week.
I think that schedule is just
It's only
way too tough. So I'm with you, Ian. I said get rid of them.
You still feel strongly about it, Nick?
I only want to see what they look like offensively this week against the Packers. It might not necessarily be about the win, but if they come out and they score, 25 plus points against the Packers, it could be something where if Williams plays well, you go, something,
Okay.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, if they win this week, then definitely not. But yeah, I mean, if they get smashed this week, then yeah, forget about it.
Okay, so you want a bit of a stay for a week? Is that what you're telling us?
Yeah.
Nick?
I mean, I've got a feeling next week we'd probably be punting on them, for me. But
If they lose this week, season is done. Like I said, that's 4-6, and you've got all your divisional games. So there's not much coming back from that.
Here's. Can I throw out one?
Absolutely, you can, Brad.
Seattle. Are what do we think? Do we think they're done?
yeah, their season will finish this week.
That's the most confidence I've heard out of you for a 49ers game in a while.
Yeah.
Oh, since the last one. Since the last time we played Seattle.
Yeah, right. It's just
Well, they're 4-5 right now. They're third in the division, so they're not really going to. They don't have. They're only 2 games back in the division, but they don't really have a lot of chance to pick up the division win to get out of the division itself.
Yeah.
The only
49ers.
reason
Ooh,
In all
yeah.
honesty, the only reason why maybe you would hang around with them is because our schedule, both our schedule and the Rams' schedule, are a lot more tougher than what Seattle has got left.
Yes.
And there's only like a game or two that separates. The Cardinals, like to be honest, if Seattle somehow do beat us this week, then I think the Cardinals will probably win the division, and that's
Wow.
that last place to first place team for the year.
You
So-
you think
So
San
I
Francisco?
think it's more so based on what's that?
Go ahead. Say you're saying. Are you saying San Francisco has an easier schedule or a harder schedule
Then who?
than Seattle?
Harder.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So after this week, it's at Green Bay, at Buffalo, Chicago, the Rams, at Miami, who will be playing for a playoff spot, at home against Detroit, and then finishing at Arizona.
Yeah.
So I think that's maybe the reason why you might hang around with them, but I'm happy to punt them because I think like if they lose this week, they're 0-3 in the division. So who are
Yep.
they going to finish ahead of?
I'm with you. I'm with you, Brad. I'm with you for sure. I look
Okay.
at that schedule. I don't like it. 49ers, Cardinals, Jets, Cardinals, Packers, Vikings, Bears, Rams. It's a tough schedule on the way out. So
To the moon!
there you go. Punt.
Well, then, so by the same token,
Nick-
the Rams have the same schedule or the same record. Are we considering punting them?
No,
What do you-
I like their schedule better. Plus, I think their team overall is better. So their schedule this from here on out is at New England, Philly at New Orleans, Buffalo at San Francisco, at New York, Arizona, and then Seattle to finish. So they probably win at least half of those games.
Okay.
yeah, they're getting weapons back, Brad. So they're
Yeah.
coming on. They're getting
getting
healthy
healthier
at the
on
right
the
time.
island.
Yeah, at the right time.
Yeah,
So,
I just
I
did
think the
not
Reds-
like how they looked this last week. I was expecting a lot more from them. I felt like they seriously regressed. So that's what even makes me bring them into this conversation.
Nick, have you got one to chuck in there? Couple more, boys. So
What controversial one?
couple more. So is there someone up there around that 7, 8, 9 range, somewhere in there? 6, 7, 8, 9.
I was really gonna go with Seattle. I almost want to do the Colts, but I feel that again another case of their schedule is pretty soft. So they got at the Jets, Detroit, at New England, then they got the bye, at Denver, Tennessee, at the Giants, and then at home against the Jags. So they win their last 3 games, even with
They're-
Anthony Richardson. So
And
I
they're
really
a game-
don't want to punt on them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're a game back on Houston just because of the bye, because they've got their bye still to
Yeah.
come. A couple of wins in that, and they're actually fighting Houston, who have been pretty weak so far for the division title.
I think, and Houston's run home is pretty tough, but I think this week Collins is back, so that's going to help them offensively. I don't really have one that's controversial. I was going to say the Colts, but I think their run home is probably soft enough for them to stay in it, where they probably win about 9 games at least for the season.
I really wanted
Nice.
to. I really wanted
You
to
got one
put
more
in.
there, Brad?
I was going to say, I really wanted to put in Tampa Bay, but their strength of schedule
definitely not.
is
It's the easiest in the league, Brad. There is no. It's not even my love for Baker Mayfield that would make
Okay.
me say no. It's the fact that their strength of schedule is the easiest in the entire NFL going forward.
Okay, yeah, all right. Well, I'll accept that. I just they're so banged up, and they're not getting a bunch of people back.
They
So
are, but it's amazing that they can still front up to teams even that banged up. It's just
yeah,
unbelievable. But they are on this stretch of games now against a lot of those teams that we've just punted. So,
Yeah.
all right. Well, that seems like we're about there. How about we revisit, let's say, week 13 before Thanksgiving, and we'll see where we can go from there. Or after week 13, let's go week 14 and see who else we can just
To the
send
moon.
to the moon. All right, excellent. That's it. What a sound drop. If anyone wants to give me something better, that'd be amazing. That was about 5 minutes of work today. All right. Let's get on to some Week 11 games. As I said at the top, 4 amazing Week 11 games. We've got some pretty strong ones and some pretty interesting ones to kick off with here for this week. We're going to kick off with the Baltimore Ravens at the Pittsburgh Steelers this week in Pittsburgh. Ravens and Steelers almost identical records. 7-2 for the Steelers, 7-3 for the Ravens. And whilst the Ravens go in as a 3-point underdog here on the road, which is pretty unusual, for me, this is a very even game. And traditionally, the Pittsburgh Steelers have had the wins over the Ravens, despite all of their successes.
Now you are correct because Lamar Jackson as a starter against the Steelers is 1-3, so it is the team that he probably struggles against the most because against all of the opponents that he's ever faced, it's the team that he has the worst touchdown to turnover ratio, which is 4 touchdowns and 10 turnovers in total. So it's the worst against any team, and it's also the worst passer rating that he has against any team at 66.3. So it is a team that he does struggle against. So this is a spot where Pittsburgh, even as the underdog, and even as a team that really in this game is playing with house money, if they're going to win this division, it has to be this game that they have to pick up. They're playing some awesome football offensively, which is something that they haven't done for, pretty much since Big Ben has been there. They're averaging, I think 30 points a game since Russ has taken over. Pretty good return, considering it was such a ballsy move with Justin Fields having a winning record, and then they switched over halfway through when Russ got healthy. So it is a game where I think that Pittsburgh are going to be able to throw the ball down the field on Baltimore because for some reason they just haven't been able to defend the pass that well, and it's so uncommon for a Baltimore team for so long to be, their most glaringly obvious flaw on the team is on their defense. So it's quite weird how it's sort of panned out, but they have a chance to be able to, fix this up in the second half of the year before the playoffs come around, and they go through that gauntlet of AFC teams.
yeah. I mean, you've got 2 coaches that I think they're I don't know if you said it, Ian, or not, but the longest tenured coaches in the NFL between the 2 of them.
Yeah, they are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, and I just think with Pittsburgh, and they have just been playing lights out, like you said, Nick. But the Ravens, the Steelers have held the Ravens under 20 points in 7 straight games that they've played against each other. So that's a key stat. But I think the difference in this game is Derrick Henry. If Derrick Henry can get rolling, then I think it's no contest. The Ravens are going to win. I still think the Steelers are going to cover because what's the spread? Like 3 points. So I think it's going to be a really, really, really close game. So, but I'm giving the nod to the Ravens.
On the long term though, for the Ravens, an interesting stat that I actually came across this week. Um, this is obviously more so of a Super Bowl contention discussion. Since the merger, um, way back, 50 odd years ago, there have been, 54 Super Bowl winners. So only 2 of those winners have had teams where the scoring defense are in the bottom 10. There's only 2 teams out of 54. And at the moment, the Ravens have, I think, the 9th worst scoring defense this season. So they give up a lot of passing yards and they also give up a lot of points. They've been in a lot of shootouts this year. Is this something that is more concerning than other years in terms of their playoff contention? Absolutely. But are they still as big of a threat as what they were previous years? Considering this, what do you guys think in terms of their contention long term?
I think that they're so dynamic. I think that they're much more dynamic than in previous years, and I think that's going to be the difference in this in the playoffs. And I could see him very well, to be honest with you, get into the Super Bowl. I don't think that's a stretch.
Yeah, I don't think it's a stretch either, Brad. Their schedule here on out, especially with division, they've only got the Steelers and then one game against the Browns left in their division because they've done that sweep over the Bengals already. I think it's a pretty good road for them, but they definitely need to beat the Steelers at least here, or otherwise they're going to be doing it trying to do it pre-Christmas, coming out of a sort of a softer schedule week against the Giants. So I think this is a trap game for them. If the Steelers win here, I have a big feeling that the Steelers are going to take this division, and that's going to make it so much harder for the Ravens to get to that Super Bowl berth. Is my feelings.
Yeah, I mean, Pittsburgh, this is their first divisional game, so they still have a long road to go in terms of winning the division. But I just think Baltimore is just this is the most dynamic, like I said, their offense has been, and I think that's what's going to benefit them come playoff time, as long as they don't decide to run the ball, 3 times in a game.
I get that, Brad. No, I'm not disagreeing with you with that. It's more about the fact that the way the playoffs are shaping out this year with the teams that are in it, that there really won't be any certainty in any of those games. I feel like every game for a team as strong as the Ravens could be a definite trap game. Like they could lose to, they could go in as a 6 seed and still lose to a high team, or they could go in as the 1 or 2 seed and lose to a 6 or a 7. Like it's 2v7 anyway is what will end up as, so they could lose first week the way it is at the moment. All right, moving on. Game number 2 for the week is the Seattle Seahawks at the San Francisco 49ers. Another massive key divisional matchup. 49ers currently sitting at 5-4, and the Seattle Seahawks sitting at 4-5 in that division. McCaffrey came back last week with a massive bang, Nick, and I know as a 49ers fan you would have been happy to see Christian McCaffrey back on the park, but then to also have 107 yards from scrimmage with a massive workload shows that he is back and very healthy.
And most of the attention went to him too. So pretty much for a first game back, it was quite good for him to be able to produce that much, and he took a heavy workload. Like I think Jordan Mason and Isaac Guerrero, obviously fair enough, they had reduced snaps, but I think between them they only had a combined 6 or 7. So they actually had this week. It was when watching the game, there was a stat towards the end. I think Tom Brady actually brought it up that it was the least amount of, because there's been a lot of talks this year of most teams playing two high safeties. It was the least amount that a team has played two high safeties in a game for the whole season. And I think that's the attention that McCaffrey had drawn. And I think that's why, Brock Purdy had such a good game, particularly in that last quarter where he went for, 140 yards and led to that game-winning drive. He went for 350 in the end, and I think 2 passing touchdowns. So it opened up a lot more, even without Brandon Ayuk, obviously, for the year. McCaffrey opens up so much offensively, but that's obviously not where our issues sort of reside this year. I mean, McCaffrey adds a massive boost for us offensively, but I think defensively is still the biggest concern this year. We're not as good on third down. We give up a lot on the ground, which we shouldn't really be because we continuously upgrade on the line and particularly in the interior. So it'd be great to get Dre Greenlaw back soon. So it's going to be interesting to see, not so much this week because we usually do well against the Seahawks, but after this week when we come up against better sort of receivers, we've got to play the Packers, we've got to play the Rams again, even the Bears at one point if their offense gets better. More so about defensively if we can hold up, because I think that's the reason why we're sort of going to be pulling back a lot this year. Maybe why we could be falling short later on in the year.
Yeah, I think San Francisco, they've won the last 6 in a row, I think, against the Seahawks. So and like the last, I think 5 of the last 6 or something has been blowouts. So it's I'm surprised it's only 6.5. I think it's the reason it's 6.5 is because the Seahawks are coming off a bye. And so they're going to be able to game plan. The Seahawks have a completely different linebacking core than what they've had previously with trades and what have you. But I don't think that's going to help them that much. And I just think with McCaffrey getting better and better, granted the Seahawks are going to get Metcalf back. Well, not for sure, but it's looking like they're going to get him back. And he hasn't played in a month or something like that. So we'll see. But I don't see them having enough to even make it a contention. Sorry, Nick, did you say, in terms of the spread, would you take the 49ers at negative 6.5?
Smash it.
Yeah. Okay.
Smash it.
Sell your car, smash it.
Ooh.
Yeah. I mean, my car's already smashed, but yeah, we'll smash it. We'll match it on the other side. That's it.
All right.
All right. Hey, boys, while we're talking about the spread, every week when we do our game previews and I put them into our doc, I use AI to pull out some stats from the universe for me. So we're talking like passing leaders and who scored what points and all these sort of things that we can use as talking points. When I punched this game into AI today, just this afternoon, when we're recording, AI did something weird. Now, I don't know whether AI suddenly thinks that it's Nostradamus, or maybe it is a sentient being that's been sent back from the future. But AI gave me a script, essentially, or what is more of a review of a game between the San Francisco 49ers and the Seattle Seahawks for Week 11 of 2024. And I just want to read to you some of this stuff that it's spit out of me, because we're going to have to track this now that it's come into my world, and we're going to have to see and try and prove whether AI is that sentient being that's been sent back from the future to take over the world. First quarter, it tells me the 49ers score a touchdown, Seahawks respond with a field goal. So 49ers first drive there. This might be some good betting too for us. We could put on some bets here and see if this starts coming. Second quarter,
is fascinating.
49ers score another touchdown, 7 points. Seahawks add a touchdown, 7 points. Third quarter, both teams exchange field goals, 3 points each. Fourth quarter, the 49ers score a final touchdown to secure their lead. The Seahawks managed to score one last touchdown, but failed to convert on a 2-point conversion attempt. Final score, San Francisco 49ers 27, Seattle Seahawks 21.
Can I ask, why would they be going for a 2-pointer when it's a
I don't know.
game?
I don't know. It's AI.
People think these things are coming for our jobs. They're not coming for our jobs. Come on now. There's plenty. It's ages away. It's gone for It thinks it's gone for a 2-pointer when it's a 4-point game.
I have a feeling that it would be the Seahawks scoring first and going for a 2-point conversion and missing it, and then the 49ers scoring to secure the lead. So 7 points. So the Seahawks would have been at 21, going for another 2 to make it a 3-point game, and then the 49ers come down and score a touchdown to end the game. I'm pretty sure that's what it looks like in the script in terms of the so key performances. Here we go. You want some player prop bets from the sentient Nostradamus that is AI. Brock Purdy threw for approximately 250 yards, completing 24 of 35 passes with 2 touchdowns and 1 interception. CMC had an impressive game. I'm reading this, so it's all past tense. Had an impressive game, rushing for 120 yards on 25 carries. For the Seahawks, Geno Smith passed for around 280 yards, completing 30 of 42 attempts with 2 touchdowns, and also had an interception. And DK Metcalf, apparently he's back, Brad. So that's a definite from AI. Was a standout performer with over 100 receiving yards and contributed to both touchdowns scored by the Seahawks.
I love this. I love this.
There's defensive stuff here too, if you want me to keep going for a little bit. 49ers, pivotal and key moments, recording 3 sacks and forcing a crucial turnover. And the Seahawks defense struggled at times, but managed to hold it strong against the run, limiting McCaffrey's big plays after initial gains. There we go. So there we go. That is the AI predicting what is going to happen in this game. So now we can all track that. Everyone, I'm going to have written it down. Don't worry. If you haven't written it down, you don't have to rewind the podcast and write it down. If you really want to and you want to put some bets on with the rest of us and see if we can win some money, like Back to the Future Almanac style, we can all do that. Let's have a go. Let's put the cars, put the houses on it, and I don't know, come out the other side millionaires. All right, let's move on. Let's move on after that insanity, and we are, there's some bet the farm things going on there. Our third game is a massive matchup for the top of the league, Kansas City Chiefs, undefeated at 9-0 against the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo. As I said, Kansas City 9-0 as a Week 10. They are, I don't know, the luckiest team in football, but also one of the best teams in football. And I don't know where else to go with that in terms of game script. The Buffalo Bills, though, they've been on a bit of a heater. Alan, I've talked about with Isaac on our reaction show, is really in MVP form and right up there. And it's a very different Josh Allen that we're seeing this year, Brad. Much more controlled. Not a lot of the big hero plays. Just more of team on back, leading team. This is how we're going to do it, and this is the way we're going to win. And
no, it's going to be a fantastic matchup. If everybody needs to get in front of the TV for this game, because this is why we play the game. This is why we love the game. It's these two teams, and this is the 4th straight regular season matchup between these two teams. In 2021, Bills won. 2022, Bills won. 2023, Bills won. What do you think is going to happen in 2024? It's Bills are going to win. So,
well, I'm going Bills win, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I just think the way, and I'm not just saying that to be cheeky. I think the way that the Bills are playing, the way that Josh Allen is playing, is what you said, Ian, is spot on. And Patrick Mahomes is just trying to do everything, and he's getting help obviously from everywhere. All you have to do is look at last week's game, and you just think, what kind of has somebody sold their soul for the Chiefs, because they just are manufacturing ways to win in an unreal way. So I just think, though, it's going to stop here. I think you're going to hear those 72 Dolphins popping champagne all over America. So, yeah, I just think the consistency of Buffalo, combine that with this Kansas City, is their luck's got to run out here sooner or later. And I think this is the game when it happens.
Can I ask though, for the Bills, so Coleman's out, is if Cooper's not playing, then they're going to have to rely heavily on the run game, which the Chiefs haven't been too bad against. The Chiefs defensively have been pretty good for about 18 months. But who's going to be the one outside of Josh Allen to be able to help supplement this Bills offense? Because obviously you've got their run game, which would be good, but I feel like this could be a game where Josh Allen would easily have to go back to what he has been previously and just be Superman, just to be able to get them over the line. And I feel like it has to be a game where Buffalo really have to win, more so because they're 5 or 4.5 games ahead of Miami, who's in second in their division. So win this week. Their division's pretty much wrapped up, but like, if they lose this week, they're still going to win their division. They're probably still going to finish, second or third seed. So it's just like, the next, 8 games or whatever, it's just going to be, who cares? It's just going to be sort of going through the motions with a lot of those teams. So I think it's a game that they have to win, but I can easily see this game more so being where Josh Allen sort of unravels and might go back to old sort of tendencies where he has to sort of overcome because he doesn't have Coleman. He might not have Amari Cooper as well. They're going to have to find other avenues to win. I sort of trust Kansas City's defense a lot more than Buffalo's at the moment. So that's where I think there could be a difference. And we brought this up not too long ago. It was my first sell the car pick that I had on one of my picks. And it is going to be one of my picks later. Patrick Mahomes as an underdog against the spread. 12, 1, and 1 against the spread. 11 and 3 outrights. Total points per game as an underdog, 32. Total yards per game, 316. This is all as an underdog. Touchdown to interception, 38-13, and 108 passer rating. And he has won each of his last 5 underdog games. Preview to one of my picks, I've just given you the reasoning, but it's definitely a game where I'm not going against the Chiefs. There's probably going to be a game where it will pop up, like you said, Brad, but I don't think it's going to be this one, at least for a line's perspective of 2.5. That's something that I'm definitely going to be taking.
Yeah, Cooper is only questionable too. It looks like he will play. He did participate in practices this week, even if it's just walkthroughs, as did Kincaid. So it looks like Kincaid will be in. He was limited early week, but he'll still be there. I guess it's all going to be James Cook, Captain Cook, and Khalil Shakir. Bit of Shakira. So, I don't know. Get your fantasy teams plugged in, get some bets on, because they look like that's who's going to be getting all the ball.
Yeah, it's going to be a dynamic game. And just to give people a little bit of a statistical background on some of this stuff, the Chiefs are, I think, top 5 in the league at playing man coverage. Josh Allen is the only quarterback who has started all season who has not thrown a single touchdown pass against zone coverage. So Allen likes man coverage. The Chiefs play man coverage. So I point to the Bills. I think, and then the knock on Mahomes is pedestrian, especially this season when he's playing against cover 2, or cover 4, cover 6, those kind of looks. And what do the Bills do more than any other team? They play those looks, especially cover 2. So they play cover 2 50% of the time. So I think the strengths of the Bills match up against the weaknesses of the Chiefs way more this season than any other season previously.
Can I give you 3 points of rebuttal to that for the
Please.
Chiefs perspective?
Please.
Yeah.
Number one, man coverage. Most teams play man coverage against the Bills, mainly because they don't have the receiving depth. Right? So man coverage forces the receiver to beat the corner more than the quarterback to beat the zone. Right? Because if you play zone, you're more so coming up against a worse quarterback, usually most of the times. Whereas man, you're sort of relying on the receivers to beat you more so than the quarterback to pick you apart.
Yeah.
That also creates, man also helps a quarterback that's a rushing quarterback and likes to take off and run, because that means that usually there's only sort of one guy that accounts for him rather than players trying to bracket him. So that's another thing. Another thing also is Pacheco could be back for the Chiefs. So if the Bills are going to sit and sag off, and who are the Chiefs throwing to? Kelsey and Hopkins, who are all going to get underneath stuff. Plus they're going to have a run game. You can play it too high. No, it doesn't matter. Like, they're just going to beat you underneath, which they've done to every team all year. So I don't think that's actually going to play defensively for the Bills. I don't think that's actually going to combat what the Chiefs do already. And I think Pacheco coming back in is just going to add to what they can do, particularly on the ground. And then it's just going to be Mahomes who can, maybe passes it 23, 24 times for the match.
This is why I love football. The strategy in this is just awesome. This is excellent.
This is and I have to. I'm rolling with the Bills here, but I do think it is very dangerous for them because of the way Hopkins has been playing, and Hopkins being in this, as Nick said, Pacheco coming back. Kelsey has great games the last 2 games, so he's sort of coming into his end of the season, because that's where it's going to be, as we go towards playoffs. That's the Kelsey end of the season, not weeks 1, 2, 3. This is it for Jason right now. So for Travis right now. So that's the danger. You watched the way Hopkins played last week, especially, and the way they played with him, just out and out. But the dam's got to break at some point, and that's it. And the fact that they just came so far down the wire last week against that team. So it takes you all the way against the Broncos to all the way down to a final kick and blocking a field goal that would 95% of the time get made. Was it like a 35-yarder or something? It was such automatic field goal in the NFL these days. And to blocking that, and it did come down to some great sort of special teams scheming, and you do have to give them that. They identified that there's a lineman, the way he stands in his stance in that field goal unit, and it's the way he was, and they attacked his side, and they basically just pushed him on his ass, and 3 of them ran through that side. Like, there's vision out there everywhere for this. It's great that they've identified that, and that's the way it is. But getting to that point to win a game, that's not what a 9-0 team should be doing. It's not what a team of this caliber should be doing either. We all know the Broncos aren't amazing. They're doing pretty well lately, but they should have been able to dispatch them a bit easier than that. So yeah, I know, great. It is fascinating, and this is the reason you two are on here too. All those knowledge bombs, all that scheme knowledge bombs from you two. Amazing. That's why we've got you two on Gday Gridiron. And
I've learned from Brad when he was coaching. I've learned.
Listen to the praise.
Listen
Careful.
to you. No, you're not
love the
starting
tactical
this
side.
week.
Oh boy. Should be a fascinating game, very fascinating game. And as Brad said, make sure you sit your asses in front of a TV or your phone or your computer, wherever you are in Australia for that game. It is the 8 o'clock game. It's the one in the late
So
window,
later.
not
Yeah.
Sunday night football, because Sunday night football is what we're getting onto next. So it's the one right before that. So it is that earlier in the day, but not the 12 o'clock. So we will, as I just mentioned, move on to Sunday night football. The Cincinnati Bengals at the Los Angeles Chargers in SoFi Stadium. The Bengals, you come off a game where Joe Burrow throws for over 400 yards and Jamar Chase is almost receiving 300 of those yards. Absolute insanity to lose a game like they did. They've been so strong and they've been playing that way for all season, but they have just the luck side of the NFL just has not been with them for wins, Nick, at all. It's unbelievable that you can play that way in that manner and lose a game like the Cincinnati Bengals did.
Oh, it is. It absolutely is. And, they, from an individual player's perspective, Joe Burrow leads the league in passing touchdowns and yards. Jamar Chase pretty much leads every receiver statistic. Trey Hendrickson leads the league in sacks. It's insane. I've had a look at the Bengals schedule. This is the most important game that they'll have for the year. And I know, obviously, with the stage of the rack, you could say, we've been saying that for a while, but with how their schedule lines up for the rest of the year, they probably can get about a handful of wins. But this one could probably be the difference between that 7th or that 8th seed, particularly because the Chargers are going to be in the exact same boat. They are not guaranteed a top 7 finish, although it's likely. If they lose this game, then the Bengals would have head-to-head. They've got also a softer schedule running in. So they just have to figure it out. They've got 1 week where the offense works, but the defense is no good. Then they'll have the rare opposite where the offense has sort of struggled, like they did against the Giants, and then the defense was really good. So they have just got to find some common ground, more so defensively, just to be able to get stuff right, make some stops. It's ridiculous the amount of points that they're putting up. They've put up 35, I think, about 2 or 3 times, and they've lost. In games that they've lost, it's insane. You can't be doing that. So, and that's a big reason why they're probably going to be maybe falling just outside. But if they win this game, it gives them a huge chance, particularly having that head-to-head over the Chargers.
Yeah, this is a fun game. Who knew that I'd be excited to watch a 4-6 team on Sunday night? The preeminent time slot for football. But Burrow, that's what Burrow does. Is he just creates exciting football, and you're seeing strength versus strength. So you're going to be seeing the Cincy offense against the Chargers defense. Chargers, though, at 6-3, they have had the easiest schedule to date in the NFL. So I don't think I think they're the real team, the real deal. I don't think they're a flash in the pan or they're fake. I think they have better coaching. I think that's going to win out in this game. But I'm really excited to see how Burrow and Chase go up against that Chargers secondary. I think that's going to be a key to this. And you've seen just kind of the evolution of the Chargers in weeks 1 through 4, 1 through 5, whatever. They just relying on the run game. They get to the bye week, and all of a sudden they just open up the passing game. And Herbert has been unstoppable as late. He's ranked, I think, the last 3 out of the 4 weeks. He's been the top 2 quarterbacks in the NFL in terms of, I think, his QB rating. So it's just what he's doing right now, and how he's playing. I don't know if you guys saw that game last week, but I watched the whole game, and he's playing with attitude, man. He's not afraid to get a little chippy, and I don't know if that's Harbaugh getting in and saying, look, lead these guys, show me some Josh Allen type attitude, because that's what he's doing, and it's really impressive. So I love the way that he's playing right now. So I'm leaning towards the Chargers on this.
Fantastic. That's a great question, Nick. Great question.
1.5.
1.5. Yep.
Really?
Yeah. So it's Chargers are only having to give 1.5. Bengals are getting 1.5. So that's why I'm taking the Chargers.
Yeah, maybe because
yeah.
it's in LA.
I'll mention a couple of players here just for Chargers wise, because we don't get to talk about the Chargers enough, and Brad has talked a lot about it just now. But a couple of other players. Rookie Lad McConkey, 492 receiving yards and 37 receptions so far this season as a rookie. That's only half as much as Jamar Chase, but he was sort of non-existent for the first few weeks. So he's sort of come on in the last couple of weeks. They've really been using him in great ways. And the other wide receiver for the Chargers, Quentin Johnson, five receiving touchdowns so far this season. So they sort of spread it around, and they're starting to really pass the ball, as Brad mentioned, and Herbert with the dog in and just really going for it. So of the 11 touchdowns that Justin Herbert has thrown, 5 of them have been to Quentin Johnson so far this season. So there might be a little bit of a betting line in there for anybody that is willing to take some punts on that. All right. Speaking of betting lines, it is just about that time. The favourite time of the week, boys.
We're having a punt, having a slap, just having some fun and making some scratch. It's the Gday Gridiron's bloody best bets.
Brad, collectively, as betters on Gday Gridiron, apparently, we've been saying it for weeks, apparently we're really good at this.
We are smashing it.
And we are talking about outside of just the bets you hear here. We are well over. What did you say the other day? We're 90% or something.
Our money total, we're up 98% on
we're up 98%.
Yeah.
So we are absolutely smashing it the last few weeks. And as we said, there have been a few whiffs on what we've mentioned here on the ones we want to hang our hat on each week, the 3 or 4 that we go with. But apart from that, there have been some other really, really good ones out there that have sort of just got us way up there. How about we start with Brad's best this week? Brad, who are you looking at for this week to earn us some more money?
Yeah. Well, I got to tell you this story before I get into my bets. Last night I went to the Pearl Jam concert, and one of the guys that I went with, I'd never met him before, but he was a relative, my buddy of mine, and it turns out he is a serious bettor, like he has subscribers. That people that subscribe to him for his bets.
One of those guys, the horsing guys.
Yeah, he's a horse guy.
That's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
But one day, Nick, we've got to get some sponsorship from somebody on the betting side first.
but he, of course, he runs in the circles of kind of professional bettors almost, and he showed me on his phone a winning ticket from his buddy. Who his buddy put $25 on anytime touchdown scores, and it was like all 6 tight ends. They were all tight ends.
Oh, tight end week! That would have been tight end week.
That would have gone mental.
I don't know if it was 6 or 8. $25. Do you know what he got off that? Over $12,000 he got. I could not believe
I can
it.
believe it.
I couldn't believe
National
it.
Tight
That's
End Week,
insane.
it goes insane. It is just ridiculous. And you know what? We should have taken advantage of that for National Tight End Week too, but we whiffed on that completely and didn't even go tight ends in National Tight End Week. So
Yeah.
we have to really think and remember about that next season.
Absolutely,
because
we do.
it seems to go off every single time. But
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
Brad's best. Let's get into
All
it.
right. Yep. Real quickly. So I mentioned it earlier. So I've got two on this Bengals Chargers game that I talked about. One, I'm taking the under at 47 because I just think this Chargers defense is too good. And so I think they're going to clamp down, and I think they'll probably run the ball a little bit more, do some ball control. So I'm taking the under on the 47 for Chargers Bengals. I'm also taking the Chargers at getting only having to give 1.5 points. So I'm taking them on that as well. And then my big one, I'm doing a multi. So I am. We just talked about tight ends week. I'm having running backs week. This is Brad's running back week this week. So I'm doing anytime touchdown scorers for Derrick Henry, Williams, McCaffrey, and Mixon. So you got a 4-leg parlay, that 4-leg multi, sorry, 4-leg multi for Henry, Williams, McCaffrey, and Mixon.
CMC and Mixon. Ooh, that'll be a good one.
We've got to clarify, not Javonte Williams, Kieran Williams.
Yes,
Kyron.
Thank you.
King Henry, Kyron
Yep.
Williams, CMC,
And Mixon.
Joe Mixon. All anytime TDs. I like that, Brad.
Yeah.
Brad, they're all positive. What happened to you?
Yeah. You've rubbed off on me, Ian.
Oh, I did what?
Whoa.
You rubbed me off, Ian. Sorry.
You know you can't say dumb shit on mic anymore, Brad. You know you
that's
shouldn't be
right, that's
doing
right.
that.
No, Ian, delete. Oh, absolutely. A big fat no.
Oh, Brad. Anyway, all right, I'm going to give you three. How about we go with Ian's dogs? Saquon Barkley, what a man. 90-plus rush and a TD at 237 right now, so I'm going to smash that. Raiders v Dolphins. The Raiders plus 7.5. I reckon they'll cover that against the Dolphins. The way the Dolphins have been playing, been good, been bad, yes, but they haven't been scoring points like they usually do. And who's back at QB for the Raiders this week? The Stash. Yes, that's right. Gardner Minshew is back. So Raiders plus 7.5. And the last one is actually in that Chiefs-Bills game. Josh Allen, and we talked about it. He was who's he going to throw to? He's probably Nick saying he's going to have to go back to some of his old ways to win a game. Josh Allen over 32.5 pass attempts in that game. I'm going with. Have gone with already, by the way. I've actually put my bets on already.
You've already put him down.
I've already put him down. It's non-negotiable. That's what we're going with for this week for Ian's dogs. Let's go. Nick's picks, mate.
2-1 on the week, much better than the week before. So 19-8 on the year. Still hovering at that 70% mark. So just got to try and steadily increase now over time. But a little bit like you had, Ian, hoping for another big Saquon game. I'm actually going with the rushing attempts over 18.5. He actually averages 19 for the year. He's actually had more than 23 rushing attempts in 3 out of his last 5, and the only 2 he didn't was last week against the Cowboys because it was finished at 3/4 time, and then the Giants a few weeks before that because it was also finished at 3/4 time. So his average is at 19. He's getting 19 in this game to be able to cover it against Washington, and they struggle more against the run than what they do against the pass. I think this is going to be a game where Philly's probably going to be in front. They're going to run the ball a bit more. It's become a bit more of their brand in the last sort of 6 weeks to be able to run the ball. So that's why Jalen Hurts doesn't pass it as much either. So that should
And the Commanders haven't been great against the rush.
No, they haven't.
So
No, they
that was
haven't.
why I was going the Saquon line too. Yep.
But even more confident than that, as mentioned before, Kansas City plus 2.5 at Buffalo. As we said, if you don't want to go back and listen to the stats, 12-1-1 against the spread as an underdog. Patrick Mahomes, 11-3 straight up. Insanely good offensively when they are an underdog, and they've won their last 5 games as an underdog against Buffalo. This is a big game for Buffalo. They're going to get a little bit uncomfortable. They haven't faced a defense this good as of yet. In fact, rushing defense. The last time they played a good rushing defense was against Baltimore, and they got absolutely smashed. So Kansas City, much better this week. I think this could be a game where they put their foot down and clinch, not mathematically, but almost literally, the number 1 seed in the AFC. And then finally, I am going... Now, AI had this at -2 for Atlanta, but I'm going with sports bets. I'm going -2.5 with Denver, so to win by a field goal or more. So the one thing that Denver's been really good at this year is on both sides of the ball. Atlanta don't have much of a pass rush, so Bo Nix is going to have his time. They're going to be able to run the ball. Their secondary, Atlanta, has been solid, but with Bo Nix with some time, with Sean Payton designing the plays, it should be better. Also on the flip side, they've been really good pass rush. I think they're second in sacks, 4th in pressures. So Kirk Cousins isn't going to move around. Is going to have to be a little bit uncomfortable. Atlanta's offensive line hasn't been as good the last few weeks. So this is going to be a game where they're going to get some stops on 3rd down. They're going to make Kirk Cousins a little bit uncomfortable. They're pretty good against the run as well. I think they're top 5 in both win rate for pass rush and pass rush wins and run blocking wins. Defensively for the Broncos, so I think it is a game they probably should have won last week. They're going to be pissed off about it. They're at home against Atlanta. Atlanta has been struggling a little bit. Denver's going to be a game for them to be back firmly as a top 7 team in the AFC. Back to 3-0 this week. Let's bring it home.
Yeah. Good stuff. And you noticed we didn't punt on the Denver Broncos, which is absolutely amazing considering I had them going as a 0-win team. But I'm really looking forward to, and I'm sort of foreskinning it a little bit, is talking about Broncos Chargers game, week 16. I'm already saying that we should be talking about that game because hopefully the Broncos will still be going this way, and Bo Nix v Justin Herbert. That's going to be an interesting conversation for later on. Righto, boys. Great bets. Some really solid lines there to win us and everybody else some money this week, some more money. And hopefully everybody does well. The betting information on Gday Gridiron is provided for informational and entertainment purposes only. There are no guarantees. The tips we provide will provide success or profit, despite how much we gloat about it. All sports tips provided are our opinions, and punters are encouraged to use this information in order to form their own opinion about the outcome of a sporting event. Bet at your own risk and always consider what you could lose before placing a bet. Great show there, boys. We had another extended one, but a lot of talk. Hopefully everyone got some really good information out of it. And and hopefully everybody enjoys their Week 11 slate of games. On behalf of myself, Nick and Brad, we thank you very much for tuning in. And hopefully you can tune in to the Overreaction Show on the other side of Week 11. Of course, get all of your overreactions in for the week on our social media, which you can find at our linktree /Aussie Gridiron Network. Isaac and I will be doing those later in the week, and or earlier in the week, as it is, after the week. So please tune in for that. Other than that, Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again next time.
The Gday Gridiron podcast is brought to you by the Aussie Gridiron Network, a network of Australian podcasts bringing the fun and a little bit of the Aussie larrikin to the NFL and fantasy football. Check out our other amazing productions. Australia's #1 fantasy football podcast, the Aussie NFL Fantasy Show. Everything about the local game at Aussie Gridiron today. Manjot's Pastry Press on Instagram and YouTube, and Australia's very own Dynasty podcast, No Huddle Dynasty. Find links to everything at Linktree /Aussie Gridiron Network.